Hello, everyone, and welcome to the launch of Virtually Reality's Spring-Summer 2021 series subtitled The Long Triumph. Over 10 weeks and nearly 30 separate events, Virtually Reality SS21 addresses the knowing sprawl of a world that has been machinically shaped and how we might rethink our worldly engagements during and after times of emergency. The Long Triumph will be running from today, the 14th of May, starting with our first fortnightly theme, The New Anxiety, looking at the 300+ year technologies built to monitor our world that have been exposed as weapons-grade systems that pluralize reality and destabilize the present. Every 2 weeks, we are launching a new theme until the end of July, making for 10 sprawling weeks online that will hopefully culminate in a triumphant return to attending real-life concerts with a final offline event. You can stay up to date with all our plans by joining our mailing list or by downloading our Google Calendar. The link for both of those will be posted in the YouTube chat as I speak. More on that will follow in the months to come, of course, but today, right now, we are exceptionally delighted to have launched our series with a live online screening of the feature film Going South by filmmaker Dominic Gagnon. Dominic is here to join us in a second for a post-screening discussion with myself. However, this is an audience Q&A, so please feel free to drop any questions you may have in the YouTube chat next to this video. Alternatively, you can DM any of our social medias. That's on Instagram, on Facebook, or on Twitter, preferably Instagram if you have it, if this YouTube chat might not work for you for whatever reason that may be. Yes, but now I'm very happy to introduce Dominic Gagnon to begin our Q&A. As a filmmaker, installation, and performance artist, Dominic Gagnon works with non-orthodox images taken from the internet. In addition to questioning the specificity of cinema, his work breaks conceptual and formal frames, his practice challenging the institutional and cultural modalities of production and consumption of images. Since 1996, his work insists on various themes: mythologies, marginal production of the image and its censorship, and the conditions of mediation between the work of art and its spectator. The film we just saw, Going South, is the second in an ongoing tetralogy of films looking into the cardinal points of the internet. So, Dominic, please turn on your camera so we can see you. Hello, thank you very much for joining us today and for letting us screen your film to start off the series. I'm personally super grateful to be able to do that. I just wanted to kind of start maybe in the most obvious place, which is the medium we're streaming through right now, which is YouTube. And it seems like a very important place for you in general. And I wondered how you go about navigating that site to find the footage for your films.
Mm-hmm. First, I want to say thank you for having me. It's my first Q&A from my basement ever. So I hope everything goes well. It's a bit weird, so all my apologies if I'm doing wrong. But yes, YouTube has become a big part of my life when it started in 2005. I was a trained filmmaker, so I knew how to use cameras. They're all behind here in the drawers. I'm not using them anymore. But I had been making film for about 10 years before I moved to YouTube. A bit like conceptual artists in the 60s who were like bored and tired of artworks, objects, like they wanted to make performance, music, something that could not be stolen from the art market. So I thought that dealing with other people's visuals would be meaningful instead of just adding to the pile. So I've become like a strict observer of whatever happened on the internet and try to archive at the same time than saving stuff. Because I noticed that a lot of stuff was disappearing from the internet because censorship or catfights against like a Democrat, Republican in the United States. So I thought it was interesting to start to save that footage that was disappearing. So in 2008-9, I was really into conspiracy theories in the United States, people fearing martial law. And that is all to say that like how I navigate this with keywords. And my first film were all about martial law, USA, the fear of having like a totalitarian or fascist government in the States. So that was a big hit. Like I only used one keyword. And what I did is that by default, YouTube will give you the most popular results. But if you look a little bit in the filters, you can switch it and for the newest videos that are being put online. So that way I was right at the gate where it enters. And I got so many 0 views, 1 views, 3 views. I would just bunch saving it and observe later if it would disappear. And then I had access to really precious things, you know, like what is being rejected in this beautiful democratic platform for sharing videos, ideas, and meet people. So that's how I've been going on the margin of the web, you know, like where things get in, not the most popular, but the less the less like, the less thumbs up, the less everything viral. So this is how I've started. And over the years, things have changed, more content coming, self-censorship has started, and then I had to find new ways to deal with this astronomical quantity of videos. So now I work more with like list of keywords, and I'm having like some sort of assistant that helps me to filter all that that stuff that I found.
Sure. Yeah, and you mentioned briefly then the US, and it seems to me like a lot of your work takes aim in some way at America or North America in general. So I wondered kind of what is significant to you about that country or continent, maybe digital footprint in particular.
It's really various. Like when I started in 2005-06, like mostly American were online. And also, like, I'm limited with languages, so not so many French people were using it yet. So I use my little knowledge of English to explore the web in the English language. Yeah, of course, like with keywords like martial law USA, then I end up having a lot of American users. But now, like right now, I'm making a science fiction movie. And it's funny because one of my main keywords is lockdown. I want to have people's confession in lockdown. And because there were no lockdown at all in the States, I'm ending up having a lot of UK characters now and Indian characters. So it's funny because it's a science fiction movie, but it will be mostly English people in it because I'm sticking to that keywords like lockdown. But it's really funny how you can play with a few keywords and filters, and you can totally modulate like a stream or something, like a way to go through to navigate. Because yeah, I think it's like 20 times every year, like it get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I have to find new strategies all the time. But there are good mistakes, good things that happen by mistake sometimes that are totally linked to the keywords I'm using. Because I never planned to do a UK film, but now I'm doing one.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can tell us about that film which is coming up?
I mean, after doing the 4 cardinal point, I think it was time to go somewhere else, and space is the place. During the lockdown, all this anxiety, people not knowing what to do, when it's gonna end, being locked down. To me, it felt a bit like a science fiction movie, like you are in your capsule navigating the stars, but alone. And then obviously, I think if we end up colonizing space, then all we'll have will be internet. And we'll be stuck in small SAS and small vehicles, small huts, small houses, base, space station, that will not allow a lot of human contacts. And people will feel alone, and to me, like it was the idea of taking like speeches from the lockdown experience we all had and put it in the stars, you know, like people complaining about their life condition on Mars, complaining about their life condition in a space station, a space elevator, or so. I'm moving from more like a documentary practice to like more genre-oriented cinema. So it's more like I would like to make a horror film one day, or a comedy, or a drama. But for now, I stick to science fiction because it was such a big like trauma for so many people the last year that I couldn't leave it there. Like I had to push it somewhere else, you know, because it was so sad, so sad, and taking all this anxiety myself, like I needed to have fun and build things in space, and moving things around away from Earth and problems from Earth.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing that strikes me is like when you mentioned then like horror and comedy and things, and it seems like your films often like, I wouldn't say straddle those things, but those kind of genre ideas are at play simultaneously on top of one another throughout the whole film. It seems to me a lot of the time, and that often stems from the characters that you select or for your films, and they're often kind of chaotic or troubled or maybe hermits from society. It's their candidness in who they are that makes them kind of incredibly honest to the camera. So I always wondered if you could explain more about kind of what draws you to those sorts of people and their lives.
Well, I mean, now that I'm moving to fiction is more like because I don't believe in people's credibility so much anymore, because it's been professionalized. Like people use makeup, lighting. They have become like small TV station, you know. So in the beginning, like it was so sincere, and then I felt like there was some documentary truth in those characters. So I would go check their channel. I would find one video and look at their channel, and if there was like, let's say 30, 40 video posts, then I thought, oh, this is interesting. I can make a character out of it, you know, seeing some progression, because you have like, it's a diary, life diary that can last for 10 years, 12 years. So like, for example, in Going South, that guy who wants to stop drinking, you know, like I had his whole life, drinking life. And then I had to pick a few videos that would like, you know, create some sort of narrative. And even if it's documentary, but seeing like a progression in a character's life. But, and I think it's more like I just fell in some of those characters, like Chloe. I like her. That guy who drinks also. I think it's a lot like traditional filmmaking, where like you met people and then you just, wow, okay, this is such a nice person, so honest. Like this grandmother playing video games, you know, and getting lost in the jungle full of predator. Like it felt to me like I wanted to spend all that time with them, because editing a film like Going South is almost 2 years of editing. So I really have to like them in order to spend so much time with them and listening to all their stories, all their worries, all it's sometimes it's overwhelming, but at least if they are a little funny, then it's a bit more bearable for me.
And flat earth theory in particular seems like something that is important in Going South, both as a conspiracy theory, but also how it kind of pertains to flatness or digital flatness in a way. And I wanted to ask you how you feel those forms of flatness relate to one another.
Yeah, but I mean, when you start to do research with the cardinal point on the internet, you realize it makes no sense, you know, like except for the north, because the north all leads us to the same point. It's the Arctic Circle, and whoever thinks of north, even in imaginary north, it leads to those native people who live in igloos, you know, like in all like storybooks or like image books, like it's always those representations. So it was really easy to center the film around the Arctic Circle. But believing the Earth is flat, then where's my south? And the south was the border, you know, the crusts, and it led everywhere. So like I had to give up at one point, thinking, okay, so this is not geographical, but it's only imagination, collective imagination. What is south? And south is beach, it's palm trees, it's more the tropics. I found, you know, that. So the idea of having the Earth flat led me to this discovery that would work. South would be the tropics for me. But also I was really inspired by a book that is called The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman. And he had this whole theory that internet and the satellite technologies and wiring through the whole planet had destroyed geography. And then we could all look at ourselves in front like a flat, like those Zoom calls that we're all having now with the small case with people. It's a bit like a disco ball that you put flat, you know, and then where everybody can see everybody at the same time. There's no more distance. Everything is instantaneous. So geography does not exist anymore. And then we end up being like all the same level. And there's no more shadow, you know, everything is bright and up on the screen. And a bit like a disco ball, where if you put it flat, you know, like it will only reflect your own images instead of reflecting the whole cosmos. Because I really love this image of the disco ball, because I think we've been flattened by the internet in the last year as ever. You know, like everything is now like on screen, and there is no more perspective anymore. You only have your image and those of others as a community, but it's all wired, it's all electric, it's not real in a sense, but we tend to believe it is. And now we're moving into this new culture of it was really marginalized like 15 years ago to talk to a screen or sharing ideas with images, but now it's becoming the norm. So yeah, I think we finally achieve the impossible, and we have made the Earth flat, completely flat.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the disco ball as well, something that I guess is an emblem of partying or hedonism or celebrating. Well, yeah, no more partying at the moment. My gosh, let me know when everything reopens. I can't wait. Yeah, I mean, another thing I wanted to ask was about the apocalypse in your work, and like the first film I saw of yours was Hoax Cannula, which to everyone who's watching right now, you can actually find it on YouTube if you search.
Yes.
And
you can share all those things now, by the way.
yeah, the YouTube account, Dominic Gagnon, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so you search for that, then you'll find it. And that particular film focuses a lot on the apocalypse around 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, and Vlogger's responses to that. But it seems like that theme of the apocalypse has developed over your work in some way, even going back to kind of RIP, Rest in Pieces America as well. And so how do you feel about the apocalypse within your work?
I mean, I have survived many end of the world already. So my view on it is they are scared, like the big scare that we make, like and I like to think of it as the Halloween, like a trick or treat. It's really big here in America, where like kids dress up and scare themselves with dressing like ghost or serial killer, and it's a way to mature up. It's a way to foresee the danger, and then to, you know, like train a little bit at not being scared, you know. And I think the times that we are moving in are going to be really scary for many different reasons, like climate change, wars, whatever, Donald Trump coming back. There will be a lot of anxiety, and I think that's why we like so much horror movie or drama movie that exacerbate this idea of an end. And to me, it was really cool to explore those subjects, because like, of course, like you make a film about the end of the world, who's going to be your audience? and you have to believe that there will be an audience in order to make that film. And it's a way to go through hard times. And I believe that the last 10 years we've been through a lot of hard times, and killing those myths is good, you know. Like Oaks Canada, the kids are, in the end, they're all making fun of it, and they move on and in their adult life, but I think it's a way to mature up and to have a bit more perspective on the future. Since you start fearing things, then you can move on with your life. Last year, not so many people around me have achieved things because they were so fucking scared. And it's a shame, because like of course, like there will be a future. There will be a new life maybe, but it shouldn't stop us from making things. And to me, meditating on those subjects, like the idea of the end of the world, the apocalypse, is it just makes me happy. Happier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that I'm a doomer or anything, but I like to make fun of those subjects a little bit.
Yeah. So there's one more question from me, and then I think we'll open it up to audience questions, because there's quite a few that have been coming in. Even just now, we've had a couple more. So last question before we move on from me, which is just kind of bouncing off what you just said about Trump coming back. I know he recently announced that he was starting up his own media outlet. And YouTube as something has been kind of a centralized thing, but now as the internet becomes territorialized, maybe even becomes gatekeeped in some way, do you see that affecting your workflow into the future? And how might you combat those issues that might raise, or do you even want to? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to speculate on Trump and all that, because all the damage is done anyway. Like, even if he comes back, like I don't see him being elected again. But the way it's gonna affect the internet is simple. Is that now we know the concept of fake news, or like alternative facts. It's really hard now to be on the internet and believe anyone. And so you have to override everything in order to find the truth. And that's how I see editing as a solution, you know, to mashing up things together and see the lies. And at least, you know, a lie is true. You can find out a lie is true, but editing to me is the solution. Because if you just stand in front of this flow of information and you don't do nothing, it's good to isolate some, you know, some videos, some discourse, and analyze them in a laboratory. It can be like my man's cave, but like to take time, because that's what we desperately needs to understand what's going on now, is time. So I feel that with my video editing software, I can slow it down, and I can rewatch, and you know, like try to find other ways to see, other ways to understand eventually, because if not, we're just lost, you know, like lost in all that big data, and then it's really hard to find a voice in this this torrent, you know, of information. So I feel really privileged to like being in my home and travel the world through cables and make films, and even now showing them on the internet, you know. So it's really minimalist gesture, but I think it's essential right now that we meditate on the visuals that we are all consuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that leads us on to a question that's just come in, actually. Maybe you almost answered it, I guess. But the question that's just come in is, what is the truth, aka narrative, reality, or situation you are trying to convey whilst trying to expose the post-truth era?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, it's more like I never really have a point I want to convince in any of my films. I just I identify some abstraction that will trigger things in me, and I will just go for it. While making Going South, knowing the meaning of what it means going south, I thought that it was time for me to try to stop making sense and convince point or anything, but just let things fly, and let's say trace some sort of an abstraction that could fit any kind of narrative. So I really believe that any viewers of this film can have a different experience, because I'm not so much there. I'm not using voiceover. I'm not. I'm constantly on another character. So sometimes it can be felt really chaotic. But my background is more into music, so I just try to make it sound good and work as almost like a conceptual rock album in the 70s, and not trying to convince any point, or because that would be a total failure for me. Just trying to surf, the idea of surfing, on subjects, to me is really essential. And I like to watch my film in the future, see what I have, what I was able to archive, because sometimes when I do it, I don't even know. The process is so alienating. Watching all those things, listening to all those people, that it's just almost about my own survival and trying to make sense out of it, but not necessarily trying to convince any sense. So I like to think of images that like each other and find each other in my editing room. It can be a color, a line, a texture, a word that will make images connect together. And I will just keep on going, and I have small sequences forming, and they find another sequence, and those sequences like each other, and at the end, in the process is over. I believe I have a film, but I'm more of a David Lynch fan, where he says if you try to understand something in my movie, then you're wrong. Just let it go and then experience it as we mostly do with music. But it's really hard, because trying also to manipulate others people's video to convince my own views or point will be really wrong. And I prefer to try to connect their ideas together without having too much power. So I let the visuals find each other, and those people find each other, and it's really long process of try and error.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that someone also asked earlier in the previous video about the balance between intuition and planification in your work, especially in the early steps of material collection. And I think that kind of answers that one. So thank you anyway to whoever submitted that question. Another one to ask you, and I would be curious about questions of ownership or consent by the creators or people who published the clips, / if the material was gathered with their knowing about how it is used in the film. Yeah. And then in brackets after that, it says, and general thoughts about ownership, authorship in post-digital era.
Yeah, I like this question because it's the main bone, let's say. First, my belief is that those people want to be seen. If not, they will not post on YouTube. So the idea of being seen, being heard, is not. I believe it's not a problem for them. They are accumulating thousands of views with their videos, while me, I'm just an experimental filmmaker, and I can gather how many viewers we had today, 14 viewers, 15 at the best. So I don't feel that I make a big competition with their own channel or anything. They want to be heard, they want to be seen, they want to be liked, they want subscribers. So I'm just making a little bit of publicity for them because I cite all the videos at the end and everything. The problem is that if I show them the film once it's made, maybe they will not be comfortable sharing the space with other YouTubers. So then I would like, it's not about liking or not their image in the film, but it's about finding a consensus. And me, that consensus, I cannot find it. Either someone will not like the music, will have a strong judgment about transgender people, don't want to be part of a film with Parang, like that guy in Thailand, you know, that speaks really bad about women and everything. So it's the risk I take of composing a film with all those different views and images, and taking, like, as an artist, that's the risk I take, you know. And about the ownership, but my films are not for sale. I don't claim to be the owner of my own films. So they are, like, I like to call them a wild film, you know, like they are just out there, and it might create problems. It might create tension. It might create controversy, but it's the risk I'm willing to take as an artist to try to make sense out of this all. Because if I would, let's say, try to acquire the rights, it's not the maker I would have to contact, but YouTube. I will have to buy it back from YouTube, because whenever you put something on YouTube, it's not yours anymore. So the problem is really complex, and for that reason, I've decided not being like on a market selling my films, for example, going to big festival and trying to sell my films to television or this or that. I don't care about copyright infringement. I try to stay as free as possible, working with non-viral videos, so you won't see like a Coca-Cola ad in my film, because I know I will be in big trouble. But as it is now, like some people have tried to shut me down in the past, but they never succeed, because there's just wild images in the nature, and I take responsibility for the editing I've made, but I don't claim ownership over my films. So that resolves everything, because honestly, being an experimental filmmaker, I will never make a big living out of it. So instead of not getting as much money, then I prefer to give them. And like, they're all online, like I don't care. People can watch them, share them. And if really someone has a problem being in one of my films because there's, like, I don't know, like it feels like not respected, or like I would totally consider like removing or changing the film, but it has to be a serious claim, not just like I don't like my makeup, or I don't like to share the film space with this other character or anything. But I believe that if it's already on YouTube and gets like thousands of views, and it can be seen from anywhere in the world, then I feel that I'm okay with it, using it in my own production. It's a bit like walking in the street and filming people without asking permission. But it's even more ethical, because people have already put them online to be seen. So when I start making film, I was that guy shooting in the streets, and it was way more problematic than my practice today.
Yeah, another question that's come in, which leads on as well again. Are there any personal or moral borders or hesitations when selecting material which can later be considered provocative?
I mean, if it's already on YouTube, like it cannot be that wrong, you know, like, because now the guidelines are really severe, and then you won't see much. But I would say that where I draw the line is if my daughter can watch it. And now she's 11, but I've made really like hardcore films, and then she was 7, 8, and then I felt that if I was okay, comfortable showing it to her, then it would go for a general audience. So now she's growing up, so I might have to find new kids. But yeah, my point is never to shock people or anything, but to testify about, like, we know all the nastiness that there is on the internet, you know. So you just go to porn sites and then it's just, you know, like you see so much horrible things that I don't feel that a bit of vomiting or drug using or boozing is so problematic.
Great. I believe that is the majority of the questions that have come in from online. So in that case, I would just like to finish maybe with one other or a couple of others from me. The first one is, as we are kind of more interconnected than ever before on a literally viral COVID level, and we have this new global empathy that links all internet users together as we hear about the kind of inequality and how COVID is affecting different communities around the world. It's the same virus, but different healthcare systems and different abilities that certain countries and geopolitical systems will allow for. How do you see the two parallel viralities, the virtual virality of YouTube and the biological coexisting?
I remember because you sent me those questions earlier.
I did.
And that one I read and reread again, and then I don't get it. But I understand what you want me to say or talk about. But just my general impression of like what we have just experienced now of like having to work online, having like cocktails, family meeting, everything online. There's less and less place for the biological, but I don't know if you ask me what's gonna happen in the future.
I don't think so. I think I was more thinking about the fact that, you know, we spoke about digital flatness earlier and things, and I mean, like the internet is not totally flat in terms of accessibility, at least, or in terms of how people can reach things and the quality of videos that can be uploaded all the time and various things like that. And so I don't know, something about the way in which kind of access is thought about or you think about access to the internet and access in general with your work.
Well, I mean, right now, like I feel that like my earlier film on the internet, like people were not so familiar, you know, of like you had like someone like me right now talking to a screen, and I remember in 2005, like we were wondering like, what is the audience? Who is he talking to? You know, like is it like the whole world or the YouTube community? And now I feel that it has made its way in our lives, and it has become normal. And because of the pandemic, but it's gonna stay like this a lot, I think, because we have realized how much money we can save, how much sex is safer online, stupid things like that. But I mean, it's just that now it has become mainstream and in rich countries in the North Hemisphere. So I think we are going to see like a big, like in between like poor nations and rich nations, like there will be like a lot of differences. And I hopefully, like I dream of a post-digital world, you know, where like we could just like leave those things behind and reflate the planet, you know, with some positive and being human, you know, because like now there's not much accident happening online. And that's what I missed the most from the last year, is that I know my day is always gonna start and end every day. There's nothing happening, and I think this chaotic part of life is missing on the internet. And so that's why I hate that flatness. I want to you know, like find an air pump and repump the thing. And I think it'll be time after the pandemic to try to reevaluate our use of internet and try to not to become flat, you know, ourselves, and getting like, let's say, sugar, aesthetic chirurgy, you know, like to fix our nose because like the camera is a wide angle, and then we have to found ourselves back in materiality, and that's my wish. And but it will not stop me from exploring the internet or anything. But I think that I might be interested to grab a camera again and go out and see how the world has changed during the last 2 years, and try to reinflate things, you know, make things wild and dangerous and chaotic again, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, here's to pumping up the world again.
Yeah.
and opportunities for reevaluation in the future as they come. Great. Yes, I think that's going to conclude the Q&A for today. Thank you very much, Dominic, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my English was not so. I haven't speak English in almost 2 years now. Fantastic. Without traveling or anything. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. And please share the links of the other films if people are interested in your group. Like, it's all free.
Yes. Maybe we can do that as soon as we finish this.
Okay.
That might be a good idea. Great. I'm just going to pin myself and finish with one final thing.
See you in space.
See you in space. Fantastic. So there we go. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Our new anxiety theme launches today. Now available to stream online are films by Dele Adeyemo and Christopher Oliver, entitled The Cosmogony of Racial Capitalism, and Erica Scowerty's Exit Scripts. We are launching on Monday a Q&A with Denai Ayo and Ezekiel Dixon-Romain. They both have been involved with 2 research projects, Schemas of Uncertainty, based out of the Sandberg Institute in the Netherlands, and the online symposium, Recursive Colonialism, Artificial Intelligence and Speculative Computation. That's on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we have a live stream performance of Conversation Piece by the Manchester-based or affiliated ensemble Shoal. The piece is by Luke Nickel. We also hope to launch, or will be launching in the near future, a piece that is represented in this program as well by Oscar Escudero and Belenish Moreno Gil, called HOC or HOC. That's a new recording that we're producing in Manchester, but due to COVID restrictions, we've had to delay that a little bit. So I hope you can bear with us with that. But yes, please keep up to date on our social medias, and you can find out all the information from there or from our website, which is virtuallyrealityevents.com. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope we see you on Monday or on Tuesday or later in the series. Thanks very much, and see you later.